edition of Virginia Wine TV. A little different today. We're in Florida, and we're talking drink local, specifically drink local wine. And most of you are already familiar that there are wines produced in every state. And there's sites like Wine Compass, our winery directory, that'll list all the wineries in the states. There's also an organization called drinklocalwine.com that promotes local wineries by holding an annual conference in a selected state. They've been in Texas, Virginia, Missouri, and this year they're going to be in Colorado. It'll be the end of April of 2012 in Denver, Colorado, and they're going to be focusing on the Colorado wine industry. And believe it or not, there are about 100 wineries in that state, and we've actually had a chance to try some. My favorites are the Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and there's a Limburger there that's really well. And so for those states, it's quite easy to drink local. Specifically where I live in Virginia, Northern Virginia, you have all the Virginia wineries. Then you get into Maryland, you have great wineries such as Black Ankle, Sugarloaf Mountain, and actually I'll plug Old Westminster Winery, which we will be our focus next week on Virginia Wine TV. So it's really quite easy to drink local, living in Virginia. I guess really the only barrier is price. Sometimes it gets a little bit pricey to drink local. But what about other states? You have your cold weather states, New England, Minnesota, Wisconsin. You have your southern states, Georgia, Alabama, into Louisiana. And then you have Florida, in the subtropics. How can they drink local? They can't go over for grapes like your Chardonnays or your Viogniers, even the French hybrids, Chambourcin, forget about it. They do have great wines. You have your native muscadine, and you have some grapes that were engineered by the University of Florida. You have your Blanc de Bois, your Stover, your Lake Emerald. So it is possible to get great wines. Then you have your traditional fruit wines, strawberry and blueberry. And then you have your quite unique, tropical, guava. Let's see, there's key lime wine. There's actually an avocado wine, really getting into the strange. So what I want to show today is just how lucky those of us in Virginia are to be able to drink local and compare some of my favorite Virginia wines with some of the Florida wines that I was able to pick up just at the local Publix. So we'll start off, we have the Glen Manor, well first off, whites. Virginia, Viognier is a signature grape, good Chardonnay, Petit Mansing's coming on. But literally my favorite wine is the Glen Manor Sauvignon Blanc. I know Jeff White's getting a lot of accolades now, deservingly so. His Governor Cup winning Otter Hill. But to me, his Sauvignon Blanc is, for the last 5 years, has been my favorite white wine. Just tremendous wine. So we have the Glen Manor. Those living in Florida, I tried to find a Blanc de Bois, who our Texas viewers are very familiar with. Couldn't get that, so what I found was a muscadine. Well, actually, it says Venters White Premium Table Wine. I've been to this winery before. It's San Sebastian Winery. They're in St. Augustine, Florida. It's actually a nice little place. Besides the Biltmore, they might be the second most popular visited winery. They're right on the trolley line. So I know what's in this wine, but it's muscadine. Served chilled, so it's probably a little bit of sweetness to it. But I do know, or I think this is the main ingredient. If you ever visit the winery and one of the trolley cars pull in and there's a long wait, head upstairs to a bar, and they actually make a white sangria out of this. So it definitely has that nose of a muscadine, sort of sweet, grapey. A bit of sugar, I'm not really sure how much. It's not, for a muscadine, it is what it is. Don't know if I could finish a whole bottle in one setting like I would be able to the Glen Manor. But, for one glass on a hot day, or as a white sangria, I could probably go with it. Now we'll move on to the rosés, and what I think is one of the best rosés and probably the best value out there is a rosé from Boxwood State Winery, and People who followed us last week, that was a subject or topic of our video last week. And this is the Topiary Rosé, which is actually just made from the bleed of their red Topiary, which is a right bank styled wine, so it's predominantly Cabernet Franc. And not only is this a great wine, but it's just a great value wine. The Glen Manor I bought at a neighborhood wine store at $22 a bottle. The boxwood usually goes around, price around $14, $15. This is the 2010, which was on sale because they were trying to clear out inventory at the boxwood rest and tasting room. I got this for $10. I mean, this is just an amazing wine. I mean, this wine is a little bit creamy, not a whole lot of acidity, but it really works mostly with meals. By the way, the Vintner's White, I think this was about $13, $14. So in Florida, you're not going to get any true rosés. You're going to get a blush wine. They're obviously not going to bleed any of their red wines because they don't really have any except for a muscadine. The one true blush wine that I saw was about 6% residual sugar, and that was too much for me to handle. So I picked up a Schnebley's Redlands Carambola wine, which is actually starfruit. And Schnebley's is pretty interesting. They're the southernmost winery in the continental United States. And the Redlands district is a historic agriculture area. So basically, you go to Miami, you go west, you go like you're going to the Keys. You got the Everglades on one side, you got the bridge to the Keys to the south, and there they are. And they're actually a destination winery. They have music over on the weekends, and it's actually a fun place to go. I've visited a couple times. And so we have a star fruit wine. Now this, I think, was 3% residual sugar. Oops, let's get the right wine. So it's a little darker in color. Actually smells like star fruit. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to taste that. Interesting though. It's actually drier than 3%, or tastes drier than the alleged 3%, but there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of flavor. Now I know my wife has bought these wines before and taken it to the beach and basically mixed it with some seltzer water, so I think that's what's going to happen to this bottle. Now that's probably the last time I'll try that one. But they do actually, Schnebley's is the one, they have an avocado wine that's actually interesting. They have guava wines. They, you know, for the tropic, I mean, they are way south. So for the environment that they have, you know, they make do. And it's actually a really neat place to go. So I would recommend, if you're ever in South Florida, Miami, to take a trip out there. And then you just have to be selective on the wines that you choose. So finally, we go to reds, and the classic wine for me in Virginia is the Barboursville Octagon. Just a true Bordeaux blend, year in, year out. And this is the one wine that I'll splurge on. I think I paid $38 for this, but it's well worth it. Luca does a great job year in. Barboursville was the first modern era, first winery in Virginia to plant vinifera grapes and succeed with it. They do a great job. They're just outside of Charlottesville. I do remember at the Wine Bloggers Conference last year, I just happened to be sitting at a bar with Tom Work, and he asked, you know, if he had one wine to bring home, what is it? And to me, this is it, the Octagon. This is just a classic, classic wine. I think it's the wine that all Virginia wineries should aspire for. Now Florida, you have most of the red wines are sweet. Muscadine, I guess noble grape. There's the guava wine, it's red. Schnebley's has a couple other fruit wines that are they're heavy, but they're very sweet. The only dry red that I found was from Keel and Curley Winery. We actually visited them. They're outside of Tampa, but their wines are available for about $11, $12 at Publix. And so this is their dry blueberry wine. The winery started, it was pretty interesting. It's a blueberry farm, and at the moment when the marginal revenue and the marginal costs of picking become even, they basically just stop picking, and the blueberries just sit there. and the owner was trying to think of a way to harvest those grapes and use them in productive use, and he's like, well, let me see about making wine. And so he started out small, and I think that was maybe 15 years ago, so they've been pretty successful. They're a destination winery. They have music on weekends. They're the ones that make the key lime wine. So this wine I've actually tried earlier this week. They also have a dry blackberry wine. And I tell you, this is when you want a fruit wine, this one really nails it pretty good. I mean, the aroma is all blueberry. I mean, and it is dry. There's no really syrupy sugar. And you can taste blueberries. It's not the same as throwing blueberries in your mouth, but you can definitely taste it. Very smooth. For a fruit wine, I think this nails exactly what it is. And I think if I had to drink local, in Florida, I guess I'd be a fruit wine drinker. So, I mean, there you have it. It's definitely easy to drink local when you're in Virginia. We got, really good wine, some of them extremely affordable, classic grapes. Florida, they got to deal with their environment. So I would definitely suggest for the people here, experiment. You might be able to find one or two you like. You're obviously not going to just drink Florida wine. Like I think there are some people who just drink Virginia wine. But just get out there and experiment. So remember, there's drinklocalwine.com conference. It's at the very end of April. Check their website and check winecompass.com to find a winery in your state. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.